Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra, and the top story we're tracking this evening, the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, is our top focus. The Indian Army said that it thwarted multiple drone attacks by the Pakistani Army overnight, which were targeted at military stations at Jammu, Pathankot and Udhampur. In a press conference, the government said that Pakistan used more than 300 to 400 drones across 36 locations last night. It added that one armed UAV was targeted at Bhatinda military station, but the attempt was foiled. The government said that it believes that the purpose of these large-scale aerial attacks was to test India's air defense system and gather intelligence. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri revealed that Pakistan's drone attacks were targeted at civilian and military infrastructure. While Indian armed forces acted responsibly in their retaliation, Misri said that 2 school students were killed during heavy shelling in Poonch on the 7th of May. He said that places of worship with a particular design were targeted as well. He referred to Pakistan's denials of the attacks on civilians as a new low for them. Let's keep in mind that the government has urged all media channels, digital platforms and individuals to refrain from real-time reporting of defense operations and movement of security forces. And we must tell you that Operation Sindoor is not over. There will be periods of intensity, there will be periods of calm, but the operation definitely not over. We're joined by Brahma Chelani, Strategic Affairs expert, Major General B.S. Dhanoa, and also John Spencer, Chair of the Urban Warfare Studies Department at the War Institute. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. General Dhanoa, if I can begin with you. You know, when the Foreign Secretary and Colonel Sophia, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh were briefing the press, they made an important point. And first of all, we will laud and praise the work done by our armed forces and the phenomenal work they've done over the last few days. But at the same time, they said that Pakistan used 300 drones to target different locations along the LOC and the international border. And the plausible purpose is the fact that Pakistan wanted to test the air defense system in India and gather intelligence. Do we assume now that till now Pakistan was only testing grounds and the real response will come now?
Thank you for having me, Girish. As the spokesperson for the Ministry of Defense mentioned that these were probing attacks. Will they come again? I don't think that you can get a definitive answer to that. The possibility that they've got a fair idea of the robust Indian response is very much going to put them, or should I say, is going to make them a little cautious about being able to use a similar sized force package to try and target any important military installation or even a random attack on certain important areas. So yes, it was definitely a probing attack to check India's responses and possibly even to test the efficacy of the counter unmanned aerial systems grid that we very effectively put in place over the last 7 to 10 years. And so definitely, I would say that they've got maybe not all, but certain answers to some of the issues that they were looking at. Whether they're going to come again, that's $1 million question.
Absolutely. Let me also get in John Spencer here. John, what's your reading of the kind of weaponry that was used by the Pakistani forces? You know, defense sources here in India were said that some of these drones were cheap quality drones. Today in the Defense Ministry press conference, the defense spokesperson said that these were Turkish drones that were used. Some of the air defense systems that were also targeted by the Indian forces were Chinese made. What's the efficacy of these drone and air defense systems according to you, and how do they stack up against what India has? Because we've deployed all our air defense systems. We're using everything at our disposal to protect ourselves.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, that definitely applies to what are the capabilities of the device, although Turkish drones have some sophisticated versions. But this is something we've seen similar around the world in both Ukraine and Russia, and even in Islamic regime in Iran attacks. You start with these cheap, disposable drones to overwhelm air defense systems, and then follow that oftentimes immediately with some type of missile directed strike. But yes, I mean, it shows the efficiency and overwhelming capability of the Indian air defense systems, as we've also seen the weakness of the Pakistani air defense systems recently when India responded to the horrific terror attack against those 9 sites, and the air defense capabilities of Pakistan couldn't stop them.
Right. Let me also get in Brahma Chalani at this point. Brahma Chalani, today in the press conference, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri went on to say that India has managed to kill in its strikes Abdul Rauf Azhar, who had beheaded Wall Street Journal journalist Daniel Pearl. Is this going to make Pakistan realize that they cannot be supporting Pakistan? They need to make Pakistan accountable and take a stronger stand with India? Do you think this current administration, the likes of Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, will take that stand?
The U.S. has taken a hands-off approach. It has effectively green-lighted India's strike. No major power has criticized India for conducting Operation Sindoor. The only power that criticized India was China, Pakistan's all-weather ally. That tells you a lot. The problem is this, that targeting terror infrastructure in Pakistan, taking out terror camps, killing terrorists will not impose deterrent costs on the Pakistani military establishment. The Pakistani military establishment uses these terrorist proxies as disposable commodities. They're cannon fodder for the military generals. They're expendable. You can kill even 1,000 of them. Pakistan is the world's biggest terrorism factory. They will churn out more jihadi terrorists. So India has to be clear as to what its end objective is. What does it want to achieve through Operation Sindoor? Does it want to impose such heavy costs on the Pakistani military establishment that it's forced to end its decades-old asymmetric warfare through the use of terrorist proxies? Or is it merely to inflict costs in a measured, calibrated way? Right now, India is, from its own admission, responding in kind and imposing costs similar to what Pakistan is seeking to impose on India. So I think we need to be clear about what India's end objective is.
That's an important point. General Dhanoa, do you want to weigh in on that? Because just a while back, we had General Bikram Singh on the program. And he said that, most of the time, when it comes to Pakistan, we are reactive. Jab wo hame marenge, to hum jawab denge. But now we need to be proactive. And probably the next stage after Operation Sindoor is to have a decisive operation. We've not done a decisive operation. What's your sense on the road ahead? Because, at some level, the feeling within the average Indian citizen is, how many times will this happen? How long will we keep going through the cycles? Is there a way to decisively end this problem?
Well, it's a rocky road ahead is all that I can say. And I don't think that, between two militaries that are relatively well matched, you can have a kind of decisive operation that makes one side completely accept defeat, and it puts an end to terrorism. But definitely, I think what is needed from now on is to send the message across to Pakistan very firmly that any terror attacks in India be it in Jammu and Kashmir or elsewhere, is going to be met with decisive responses. These responses are going to be in all the possible domains, and they're going to be using all instruments of national power, external as well as on the military front. And while I am also of the view that you cannot put an end to terrorism by surgical strikes or by very precise targeted responses, but what it does, it puts a caution in the minds of those who are the perpetrators and those who are the orchestrators of this drip of terrorism, that they better weigh up the consequences. And we've seen over the last 72 hours how incidents can spiral out of control, which are no longer on that elusive, the escalatory ladder that you think that you can control. And so, therefore, there is caution which is imposed by the conduct of operations such as Operation Sindoor. Whether we can do a decisive operation after this, decisive to the effect of what? Going in for an all-out war? I don't think that is
decisive in the sense of the ability to carry out terror strikes on the Indian soil, sir.
Yeah, but then what are the objectives that we would be looking at if you're looking at a decisive? Are you going to take out their military headquarters? Are you going to take out more terror camps, which is a whack-a-mole kind of a situation? You knock out one terrorist camp, three others spring up somewhere else. We've demonstrated resolve that we are not hesitant to hit back at the known headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed or the Lashkar-e-Taiba, having targeted both Bahawalpur as well as Muridke. And some of us in the military have said this 15 years back, that we should have used these two places to demonstrate resolve. And I'm glad that the Indian government has now gone ahead and done it. If there is any other provocation from the Pakistani time at this side, well, then definitely we've got more measured and more stronger responses available to us on our side. And I think we should be prepared to use them.
That's an important point. And I think, as you're also saying, that we've perhaps changed the rules of engagement when it comes to Pakistan. We have retaliated very heavily. We've not hesitated to use the air defense systems, the arms, ammunition, fighters that are at our disposal. Let me also get in John Spencer back again. John, China has supplied 81% of Pakistan's imported weapons. Would you say that this is a test case for China also, in a sense, to see the efficacy of its defense exports? And what would be the level of intelligence sharing support from countries like China and Turkey when Pakistan is carrying out these operations using the weapons supplied by them?
Yeah, I mean that's just a fact. I mean, every bit of piece of equipment, whether it's air defense or even offensive capabilities, is basically a test of that capabilities, which is thankfully showing up wanting. But that's a clear fact. I mean, it's just part of war, is that each individual evolution is a test of capabilities you thought could do something and you learn that they can't. Whether you have the ability to adapt rapidly is always the question. I just published an article today about what is strategy. On your question about, what's the goal here? I think that's important to ask, but also recognize that there are four forms of national power: diplomatic, information, military, and economic. And it was right that India responded to this awful terrorist attack, but the de-escalation should be the goal. But with this whole comprehensive approach to how to prevent this from ever happening again and hold Pakistan accountable to this state sponsoring of terrorism against India.
Right. We're going to take a short break, but we request all our guests to stay with us. This conversation continues in just a moment. All right, we are discussing Operation Sindoor. We're discussing India's response, the diplomatic response and the economic response as well. We have been calling on the IMF not to grant another loan to Pakistan. No more bailouts for countries which are using that money to finance terrorism. We've suspended cooperation under the Indus Waters Treaty. But let me go across to our experts once again. General Dhanoa is with us. General Dhanoa, we've taken a holistic approach this time around. We've suspended trade, air routes. In fact, we've just got information that the Ministry of Civil Aviation has decided to extend the NOTAM on 24 airports along the border till the 15th of May. So clearly, Operation Sindoor is going to continue for some time. Having said that, what do you think should be the key objectives? If you had to list out 3 key objectives of Operation Sindoor, what would those be?
You're asking me a question which it doesn't have a straightforward answer. But definitely the first objective of this operation is to tell in no uncertain terms to the orchestrators of terror in Pakistan that enough is enough. We are not held back by any rules of engagement, some unwritten rules of engagement. If we feel that our citizens are targeted senselessly in a very deliberate and very heinous manner, then there will be a strong Indian response. So that's the first objective. The second objective is to assure the Indian population that the government of India is fully seized of their security. And if there are any attacks or any terror that gets through, then this will be responded to. And we will respond to any such terror attacks. And the government is forceful. The government does have the instruments available with it, and it's willing to use them. And the third and the more difficult objective would be to put an, if not an immediate and a decisive end, then definitely to pause and to make the other side think about what it tries to achieve through these senseless acts, because Indian territory is not going to be negotiated over small terror attacks. But what the other side is going to get is a full spectrum response using all instruments of national power. So those,
right.
I would be the 3 objectives.
All right. Brahmachalani, what do you think can make Pakistan stop? If we had to give our viewers a sense of what General Asim Munir is trying to do, at what point do you think Pakistan will stop this escalation?
Well, Pakistan has waged this asymmetric warfare for decades now. Today's India's economy is 11 times larger than Pakistan's, and India's military spending is nearly 8 times larger than Pakistan's. Yet, paradoxically, it's the smaller, weaker country that has waged with impunity a quote-unquote war of 1,000 cuts against its larger neighbor through terrorist proxies. So given that background, India's Operation Sindoor shows 2 things. First, that India's patience has worn out, and 2, that there is now a paradigm shift that the government is willing to undertake in India's strategic posture toward Pakistan. But to answer your question directly, it's clear that if Operation Sindoor is to be a success, it'll have to humiliate Pakistan's military elites so that they are left licking their wounds. A weakened and humiliated Pakistani military establishment would face the wrath of the people whom they have oppressed for decades. We should not forget that in recent years, the traditional respect for the Pakistani military has eroded in society that questions are being asked about the military in Pakistan in a way that in the past was unthinkable. People are blaming the military for Pakistan's plight. They know the military controls the politics. They know the military controls the economy. They know the military actually corners the country's resources. So a weakened and humiliated military establishment would clearly face the wrath of the people. After all, the military claims to be the ultimate guardian of the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. But if you humiliate the Pak military, especially the generals, then they are certain to face the wrath of the people. And I think that should be India's ultimate objective. But I don't know whether India has the political resolve to proceed along that path.
Okay, let me get in John Spencer. John, we saw a lot of attention, the Ukraine-Russia war, the war in Middle East, grabbing global headlines over the last 3 years. Will the international community be concerned about a third conflict point opening up in this region? At what point do you think US, UK, European Union, members of the Security Council will seriously work towards making Pakistan de-escalate or intervening in this conflict?
Yeah, I can't speak for international media, but we will see a disparity in coverage, which is telling. But this is, of course, a global issue between what is going on with Pakistan's history of using terrorism, but also this escalation. And there should be global condemnation of Pakistan's actions against terrorism, about continuing to attack and to escalate this situation. I can't speak for the media. I have a feeling that the coverage won't be as depth for many reasons, especially in the Middle East, in the free-held conceptions of what's going on there. But this should be, and I personally believe that the goal should be to change the status quo. No attack, especially a terrorist attack, should go unanswered. And in order to deter somebody from doing that, you have to show credible will to use force. But the ultimate goal is to change the status quo to include investing in your capabilities, to take out their capabilities so that deterrence is a credible deterrence of the use of force, but the status quo has to change.
Right. Very quick question, General Dhanoa, before we end, and I've run out of time, but briefly, in case this standoff, this eyeball-to-eyeball conflict continues over the next few weeks, will India be in a better position? Does it serve India's interest?
Oh, yes. I would say that the longer this standoff goes on, and the more that Pakistan tries to show that it can stand up to India toe-to-toe, the effects of, the weaknesses which lie on the Pakistani side, which were very well brought out by Mr. Chalani, they will start to show. This business of that we can get in for a long-haul standoff with India, the chinks will start to show in the Pakistani armor really quickly. And therefore, I am of the view that the longer we have, as we rightly said at the moment, the ball is in Pakistan's court to accept what it has done. And the longer the standoff goes on, it plays totally into our hands.
All right, General Dhanoa, thank you so much for joining us. And we'd like to thank Brahma Chalani and John Spencer as well. We've come to the end of Global Eye. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.